bringing sports, entertainment, and technology podcasts together. This is SPNT.
Red vs. Red is brought to you by Stitcher Smart Radio. Download the Stitcher Smart Radio app today at stitcher.com/SPNT. What's happening, football fans? That's right, I said football. It's European football. And it's Red vs. Red here on the SPNT Podcast Network. I'm your host, Nick Strubling. After a week hiatus, we're back and better than ever. Mike and I had last week off due to Halloween over here in the States. Mike, how you been?
I'm good, man. I'm really good. Halloween, complete, utter stateside nonsense. We have bonfire night here. It's a much better festival.
You're not a fan of Halloween, huh?
Certainly not, no. Just got to say, Nick, I forgot to mention, we were going to have a guest on tonight. I was going to ask Mitt Romney to come on because he didn't seem to be doing much this evening, but he politely declined, so it wasn't to be.
Well, that's a shame. That's
it's the only time you'll ever get politics and football will mix on this show. But anyway, I just couldn't resist it. Sorry.
Episode 13 here of Red versus Red. We've made it to unlucky number 13, Mike. And speaking of unlucky, you could argue that Braga was a little bit unlucky today. Why don't we get right into that? Yeah. I won the coin toss. It's now 6-. No, I'm sorry.
No, you didn't.
I'm sorry. Mike won the coin toss this week. He said I could go first to talk about Manchester United. It's 6-6 in the coin toss race. If anybody's wondering, although if we're on episode 13, how is it 6-6? Maybe we didn't flip one. We probably didn't flip one in one of the episodes. I think.
Or I could be lying.
That might be the case. All right, here we go. We kick things off with Manchester United. United coming off a big win tonight in Champions League play against Braga. But first, let's go back a couple weeks ago with the huge win over Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. A little controversial as far as the game goes. The officiating probably wasn't the best. Fernando Torres sent off with the second yellow card for diving. Straight red for what's his name, Ivanovic, for Chelsea. The right back for Chelsea. Clear goal scoring opportunity for Ashley Young. You could argue that was a legitimate red card, but still, regardless, United took advantage of their opportunities. Scored a goal from an offside position with Javier Hernandez. We'll take it. 3-2. United finally, Chelsea finally losers on the season. They win at Stamford Bridge. Big win for United. It put them 1 point behind Chelsea in the Premier League. And then during the week, they went back to Stamford Bridge to play Chelsea in League Cup play, or shall we say Capital One Cup play. United lose. Normally, this is the type of fixture that Sir Alex tends not to put his best players out there for obvious reasons. The main goal is Champions League and the Premier League, and even the FA Cup, I would say, is valued much more than the Capital One Cup. Chelsea moves on in extra time due to a what do you want to call it? Mistake. Probably shouldn't have happened. Chelsea tie it late and then score a couple of winners in extra time. So Chelsea moves on to League Cup and knocks out United. United followed that up with a huge win against Arsenal over the weekend. It was a sloppy game, not the best of games. Either way, you're just glad that United are able to take points from Arsenal. It was a much better showing from Arsenal than it was a year ago in this fixture where Arsenal lost 8-2. I believe the final score was 2-1 to United with a stoppage time goal for Arsenal. Kind of a garbage goal. It didn't really matter at that point. Game was already in hand for United. 3 points for them. Chelsea draw against Swansea, so that means now United sit at the top of the table all by themselves. Couple that with a Manchester City draw, and here we go. United back where they belong, top of the table in the Premier League here in November, Mike. And then tonight in Braga in Portugal, United not playing their best, not having their best nights, and then all of a sudden the lights go out. Poof. I should have just made the screen go dark for our video audience there, Mike. But the lights go out, And all of a sudden, the game changes because Braga has control. They're up 1-0 after the Johnny Evans penalty that he gave up. Braga in control, should have won the game. Lights go out, 12-minute delay. Then what happens? Sir Alex brings on Rio Ferdinand, shores up the back line. That allows the other players for United, Wayne Rooney. Eventually, Robin van Persie comes on for Danny Welbeck. They are able to push forward a lot more and put a lot more pressure on Braga. What do you have? 3 goals in the last 10 minutes of the game. United winners 3-1. They clinch the group in Champions League play, and now they move ahead to the knockout stage, making up for last year's poor showing in Champions League, Mike. I must say, it has been a great 2 weeks for United. You can't argue that. They've had the one fixture where they lost to Chelsea in the League Cup. I don't know if that necessarily matters or really, makes anybody in Manchester Red upset. You like what they did tonight. Down 1-0 on the road in Champions League play and score 3 goals late to basically. It looked, if you just look at the scoreline, it looks a lot worse than it was. Braga played well. Probably should have won. Probably should have at least taken a point from the fixture, but that's what United are. They win when they're supposed to win.
Yeah, it's a typical United performance in terms of they never give up, and they have that quality in the end. It just showed through with Robin van Persie, Chicharito, and Wayne Rooney. But yeah, like you said, the last 2 weeks has been a great win for the Red Devils. A fantastic away win at Chelsea. The referee's performance wasn't the best. It's been somewhat of a major talking point over here in the UK. The performance of and the goings on after the game of what Mark Clattenburg might have or might not have said to a couple of Chelsea players. Although during the game there was some questionable officiating. I mean, the Torres sending off, the actual offence, the actual yellow card he picked up for the dive, it probably wasn't a dive, but he had gone through United player about 10 minutes previously, into which he probably should have received a red card anyway. So Chelsea really didn't have any arguments about the number of players that they had sent off. And in the end, it was United. United, like last season, they scored 3 goals at the Bridge, and Chelsea just couldn't, respond with 2 further goals. I personally think that Chelsea are really missing John Terry at the moment. They're really missing some sort of organisation at the back. Next game, Chelsea 5, United 4. Not really a game which United or Ferguson necessarily really care about. Although, 5-4 was an absolutely cracking match. And scoring 7 goals away at Stamford Bridge is, you'd usually expect to win both games. But, just unfortunately, Chelsea, I think with their backs to the wall, and they really wanted to get back into, try and at least try and do well in one competition this year. That's why they went ahead and won 5-4. Next game, 2-1 against Arsenal. Now, I was bitterly disappointed with Arsenal in this game. I can't understand why Arsenal can go to Anfield and play their socks off and win 2-0 comfortably, and then they go to United and then they're beaten walking through the tunnel. As much as I think Arsene Wenger's a wonderful manager, and I think he's done wonders for the Premier League and for the players in terms of the diet, the fitness, and the style of play, he is awful at motivating his teams. He is awful when it comes to when it really comes to it. I don't think there's been an Arsenal team in the last, say, 7 or 8 years that has really ever looked up for a critical game when it comes to against United, Chelsea, and even like Liverpool and Spurs on some occasions. They look really disappointing. And I know he said, like, previous game about a year or so ago, it was 8-2 to United. But this Arsenal team, I thought, really had a good opportunity to take it to Manchester United, especially as United have got a bit of a dodgy back four at the moment. So I have nothing but, criticism. I'm really just angry about Arsenal and the fact that they could not test United whatsoever. And then for the final game, Braga 1, United 3. Braga took the lead, and then, like you say, it looks like they took their eye off the ball, and they went and they just couldn't hold on for the victory. United scored those 3 goals in the last 10 minutes.
How much do you think
RVP.
that is a effect of the lights going out in the game?
Well, I guess that it's probably their biggest game of the season for Braga. They're fully concentrating. They're taking the lead, and then an event which they haven't done necessarily any planning for occurs, and then lights go out, and then United just take advantage of it. But I guess I suppose I'm going back on previous ground. United know to take advantage of events like that, and when the opposing team suffer with an injury or suffer with like a player being sent off, they know exactly what to do. The example being when Liverpool at Anfield this season, as soon as John Joe Shelby got sent off, United knew straight away what to do in terms to get back into the tie. And I think it was exactly the case with this game away to Braga. I mean, this Braga team, they're not bad. They've never lost to an English team at home ever, and they even conceded a goal. And I think about a couple of seasons ago, they actually got to the Europa League final, so they weren't no slouches. But yeah, United won the group, sadly, and now they can fully concentrate on the Premier League and all the other competitions which they're involved in at the moment. They can put out a weakened team now, the rest of Champions League games.
Well, we knew Braga was good because they were up 2-0 at Old Trafford just a couple weeks ago. I mean, they were up 2 goals in the first 20 minutes, and luckily United stormed back to win 3-2 there. But we knew they were good. But, if United's going to win the Champions League, these are the kinds of games you need to put away early.
Yeah, well, you say that, but I just think the great teams score late on in games, and then and that's how they win.
True.
If you're scoring, sometimes you're scoring too early. You're finding that you're having to you drop deeper. You're trying to defend a lead rather than actually building upon and gradually.
That makes sense.
Increasing the tempo, which Ferguson's the master at doing. He's the master at getting his team together at half time, and geeing them up to a victory. I just felt at the Arsenal game that Arsenal really had a good chance to really hurt United, and typical Robin van Persie, really. Sadly, he's done so well, and he hurt Arsenal, and he really did hurt Arsenal. He's now the top goal scorer in the Premier League with 8 goals.
No surprise.
Which is really hurting my prediction of Wayne Rooney being the top goal scorer, which is great. Cheers for that. Not only did he score the winning penalty against us RVP, you're now going to ruin my prediction of top goal scorer. So thanks very much. Out of the last 2 weeks, though, Nick, which has been, I think, the most impressive performance by United, what would you say? Was it the Chelsea away, or was it tonight's game away at Braga?
Oh, that's tough. The Chelsea away was kind of I don't want to say it was gifted to them because there were some questionable calls. Clearly, the Hernandez goal was an offside goal. Those sometimes they happen. They're quick. It was bang bang. I mean, it's going to happen. The Torres sending off really basically ended the game for Chelsea. Already down to 10. Now you're down 9. I would have liked to have seen what United could do against a full strength 10-man or 11-man squad, including John Terry. But so to me, I wasn't as impressed with that victory as I was with. In fact, I was probably more impressed with the Arsenal victory. There's been so much change with the Gunners over the last 4 or 5 months, Mike, that you weren't sure what was going to happen. I thought Podolski was going to have a good game. I thought he could have a really good chance to go at some of the United defense. Evra's been real shaky of late. Johnny Evans, we saw what Johnny Evans did tonight against Braga. He's not Vidic. He's not Ferdinand. So there are some questions there. But for me, if I had to pick the most important game of the week, or result for the United over the last 2 weeks was probably tonight in Braga.
Yeah, I probably disagree. I'd say the away at Chelsea because of the actual officiating as well and the environment they were in, and the fact that it was so important because Chelsea had been playing so well in the 3 weeks previous. And unfortunately, for a Liverpool fans' perspective, United are now top of the league with 10 games gone going into November. And apparently they've got a dodgy defence. And I think a lot of teams maybe have underestimated United this season. I really do. And I think people expected a bit more of a challenge coming from City. And it doesn't seem to have occurred whatsoever. I mean, the next Manchester derby is going to be very interesting. I mean, City are more or less nearly out of the Champions League.
You could say they're out.
You could probably say they're out. Yeah. So they're going to now focus upon the league, and they have the money to retool in January. Whereas I'm not so sure whether United really do. Not that I really expect City to probably spend that much money in January anyway, but the threat is there. But Mancini does look a little bit like he wants to be elsewhere at the moment. He frequently has falling out with Mario Balotelli. It's looking really good for United at this moment, and it's only November. I only see the only real challenger coming is from Chelsea, and Chelsea. They won tonight 3-2 against Braga, but I'd argue they'd probably be concentrating a little bit more on the European Cup at the moment. That's Abramovich's real prize. So it's looking really good for you guys at the moment. Which, again, as I say, so it could well be it could well be title number 20 on its way to Old Trafford, unfortunately.
That's what normally happens in Manchester, especially on the red side of Manchester. They normally get it going right around December, January, and here we are at the beginning stages of November. They're already sitting at the top of the table. Who knows? But it's halftime here on Red versus Red. So glad you could join us here for episode 13. I'm Nick Suberling, alongside my tag team partner, Mike Smith, across the pond over in the UK. Just a reminder, you can email us at redversusred@spnt.tv. You can also give us a follow on Twitter. We are at SPNT_Red versus Red. If you have a moment and you listen to our show on iTunes, please leave us a review and leave us some feedback, whether it's good or bad. We'd love to hear feedback. If you're using an iOS device, whether that be an iPod, an iPhone, an iPad, just download the podcasts app and do a search for Red versus Red, or you can do a search for spnt.tv in the store, and you can access our podcast through that way. We're also on Stitcher Smart Radio, as well as the Zune Marketplace. Do you have any shout-outs this week, Mike?
Shout-outs!
Not for a Twitter user at all, but I've actually got a sister shout-out for our sister podcast, as it's probably been well advertised. It's forget the US election, it's the Podcast Awards. That's the real election that really counts, and our sister podcast, Who Day Weekly, is nominated as a finalist. So I'm urging all of our listeners to Red versus Red to embrace the inner Cincinnati Bengaldom. Go to podcastawards.com, click on in the sports category Who Day Weekly, submit your vote. You only need a name and an email address. Go to your email account, verify the vote, and nominate Who Day Weekly for a podcast award. We need as many votes as possible. We're up against the giants of ESPN, or as I call them, the Everyday Steelers and Patriots Nonsense Network. Get out there and vote for us. Get going. We need your vote. Every vote counts. That's my shout out.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I like that you called it the Everyday Steelers Patriots Network. That's great. Oh man. All right. I'm going to give a shout out real quick to my under 30s, or I'm sorry, my 30, it's not under, it's my 30s league soccer team. A couple weekends ago, we were down 5-2 in indoor with 3 minutes to play. We came back and won 6-5 in overtime. Huge comeback. the guys rock. It's our 30s league soccer team indoor. Just started not too long ago, and pretty excited for all those guys on internationals. Big shout out to you guys. If you want to be shouted out here on Red vs. Red, hit us up at SPNT_Red vs. Red. And with that whistle, we kick off half number 2 in Mike Smith's Liverpool.
Yeah, it's been a while since been on the show, and looking at the games we've sort of missed out upon. Liverpool won, Angie McCatch-Callan 0. Great, fantastic result for the Reds over the expensively formed Angie McCatch-Callan side, starring Sammy Eto'o, who disappointingly was rather quiet during the Europa League tie, but nevertheless the Reds march on, and with the Udinese loss away to Young Boys of Bern, Liverpool are right back in the group stages now. It was the Merseyside derby on October the 28th. Everton 2, Liverpool 2. Liverpool racing to a 2-goal lead thanks to the brilliance and the utter suave of, yes, you know what I'm talking about, Luis Suarez. 2-0 up. What did Liverpool do? That's correct. They gave away a 2-0 lead so Everton could equalise and make it 2-2 final score. Controversially, at the end of the game, Liverpool in swinging free kick from the right. The ball gets headed across by Coates, only for Luis Suarez to tap the ball in. I'm at home. I erupt. I'm screaming, yes, 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 no, as the linesman puts his flag up. After, well, put it this way, whoever was officiating the line that day, when I have Phil Jagielka and Leon Osman screaming in my face, I'm tempted to change my mind too. But as far as the replay show, Suarez was clearly onside. Linesman, you really bottled that call. Liverpool were denied 3 points. They should have won the game anyway after taking a 2-goal lead. But the standard of officiating and the fact that he allowed, I felt, the opposition to influence his decision was quite frankly criminal. And Liverpool left Goodison Park quite rightfully aggrieved. Moving on and into the Capital One Cup, Liverpool, the holders, were dumped out of the cup in what was quite frankly farcical circumstances. They were at home, lost at home to former Brendan Rodgers' side, Swansea City. Liverpool were on the wrong end of a 3-1 pasting. We didn't put out necessarily the strongest team, but we had to throw on the big guns toward the end after Swansea took a 2-0 lead. And Liverpool got it back to 2-1, but unfortunately Swansea, with Hernandez, got it back to 3-1. Swansea played the magnificent Barcelona-esque style football, which everyone thought that Brendan Rodgers could bring to Anfield. Fortunately, it was Swansea that gave Liverpool the footballing lesson. And at times, I was very disappointed. One, to go out of a cup that Liverpool could quite easily have looked to have defended. And judging by the league form we're in currently at the moment, we need to win games like this and to win competitions of this nature. It was really disappointing that we went out in the manner we did. We're not playing like the Swansea team. We're not playing like Brendan Rodgers wants us to play at the moment. In that game, again, their defence is too far back. The forwards are too far forward, and the midfield is getting absolutely swamped. And against Swansea, on paper, Liverpool should have had no problem in this game, but Swansea play like a team, and Liverpool at the moment are still necessarily, I think, playing like complete and utter individuals. Moving on, Liverpool won, Newcastle won over the weekend. Again, Newcastle take the lead just before half-time with Johan Kabai's wonderful force volley at the back at the back post. Brad Jones probably should have saved the goal. Notice Brad Jones is in goal at the moment. I did highlight that Pepe Reina's not having the greatest of seasons, and after an injury, it looks as if he's lost his position, and I think it's him to fight over Brad Jones for the remainder of the season, though I anticipate that after Brad Jones' performance at the weekend that Reina will be back in goal sooner rather than later. It looked a bit desperate for the Reds, but thanks once again to a long ball, not a passing move, a long ball over the top from Jose Enrique. Luis Suarez takes it down with one touch. Next touch round the keeper. Thank you very much. It was possibly one of the goals of the season. The technique and the poise and the pace he showed to get it round the keeper and to put it in the back of the net. Liverpool, all of a sudden, the defence was now pushing up, the forward line was now dropping back, and all of a sudden they looked more likely to score. Unfortunately, they had the chances, but they just couldn't quite put the ball in the back of the net, so it finished 1-1 against Newcastle. Oh, again, the critics were saying, Liverpool need another centre forward, but I put to them this: Luis Suarez has scored 7 goals now in the Premier League this season. Robin van Persie is top goal scorer with 8 goals. I don't think necessarily the problem with Liverpool is actually the goal scoring department at the moment. The problem is we're conceding too many, and it's the thought of we're getting torn apart in the middle of the midfield. Rodgers has got to sort this out in terms of it's the back line is playing far too far toward its own goal, and the forwards are playing far too far up the field. All we're doing at the moment is hitting the ball, getting possession, hitting the ball straight away up top when there's no one necessarily supporting. There's no one running with the forwards or offering that support. The midfield is having to run all the way back to then burst into the box for try and score these chances. And it's too quick. We need to either have a measured build-up, or we need to cram the midfield and stop playing it so wide. Maybe trying to stop having the centre forwards pulling out so wide, allowing the fullbacks to allow Wisdom and to allow Johnson and to allow Jose Enrique to get forward and whip those balls in. At the moment, we're not playing like a team. We're playing like a team of individuals. In addition, there's a few players out of position. Nouri Sahin is playing far too far forward. He needs to drop back and become a deep line playmaker. And Steven Gerrard has hardly had a whiff of going forward, except against Manchester United, where he arguably could have easily won the game for Liverpool. But he's not been allowed. The shackles haven't been unleashed for Steven Gerrard. Rodgers has got to push him farther forward and support Suarez a bit more. I don't think with Liverpool. I mean, I've been really critical of this team so far this season, but I don't think we're that far away from actually perfecting things. I think it's going to take a couple of tweaks here and a couple of tweaks there, and we'll get we'll sort out our problems.
I mean, hey, you've had you set the expectations now, Mike. So, and I'm not trying to sound mean about it, but the expectations now are so low that any kind of success from this point forward, I think, as Liverpool fans, you're going to really, I don't know what the term is. I think you're going to embrace that. You're going to be excited.
Well, we've got to win a trophy, and as a fan's point of view, I love winning trophies. I thought it was, mean and heartless of the owners last season to come out and say that even if we hadn't have won the FA Cup, Dalglish would have still lost the job. Winning 2 trophies, I know we only won 1, but if we had won 2 trophies, sacking Dalglish would have been probably even more unpopular than it was last season. I still firmly believe now it was the Luis Suarez scenario that actually got Dalglish the bullet, as opposed to actual performance in the cups. Even though our league form was quite frankly dreadful.
Well, I was going to say the league play had a lot to do with that, Mike.
Yeah, that is true, and I won't hide away from that. We spent a lot of money, and we didn't qualify for the Champions League, which I think that was probably promised by Kenny Dalglish. That didn't happen, and I think that was about a good, say, 80% of the reason why he was fired. But he won a trophy, and if he won 2 trophies, it'd have been extremely unpopular. But we've got a game again away, Angie Makachkala tomorrow night in the Europa League. I mean, this is a competition that Liverpool really have got to really consider throwing everything at. I mean, we've had a bit of a lucky break with Udinese getting beat away at Young Boys. So I think tomorrow night's game, because we have got, I'll come to Sunday's game in a moment. We're sort of throwing out the second team away in Russia. I don't think we're going to get anything away from there at all. But it doesn't necessarily matter, because we've then got the Young Boys game at home as our last. And then we've got an Udinese away. We've still got 2 more games in the Europa League to qualify from the group. Because on Sunday, it's away. It's Chelsea versus Liverpool. Mm-hmm. It's going to be live on Sky Sports in the UK. Now, being away, Chelsea at the moment, there's a few questions of them being asked. Luis Suarez is on form. I think that Liverpool, towards the end of the Newcastle game, finally started showing a couple of signs of actually being cohesive and actually getting together and finally realising, well, this is how we should play. I think, looking at some of the matchups, in Luis Suarez against David Luiz, he's going to cause him absolute tons of trouble all day long. Steven Gerrard and Lucas might be back for the game against Chelsea as well.
Really?
He might be back for the game.
Wow.
Yeah, he might very well be back. There was rumours he might actually get a run out against Anzi, but I think he might well be thrown back into it away at Chelsea.
That'll be a boost.
I think Liverpool have arguably got a really good chance of taking something away from Chelsea this weekend. And although even if we do beat Chelsea, it's probably going to be in United's favour. But at the moment, I don't really care. I just want to win some games at the moment.
That'll be a big game. That game's at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, it's at the Bridge. It's 4:00. Greenwich Mean Time. So that'll be 11 o'clock in the morning for you.
Yeah.
So you'll be at church?
No, I'll be getting ready for the Bengals game.
And then, that's pretty much what my weekends have been so far. I've just been watching Liverpool, and then it's been the Bengals. It's been the Bengals afterwards at this very moment. But Chelsea Liverpool is one of the big, one of the best fixtures of the season.
Yeah.
There's usually actually a sending off, so I wouldn't expect both teams to be finishing with 11 men at the end of the game. I'm going to be a bit brave. I'm going to predict. I want to go for a 1-0 to Liverpool. I can see us scabbing it. I really can. I can see us scabbing it over Chelsea. Also, it's a reunion of Senor Torres and the Liverpool fans as well.
Nice. That'll be a good game, a good fixture. I'm hoping that Liverpool. Obviously, I hope that Liverpool wins because that obviously bodes well for us. But us being Manchester United, but I don't know. I think of Hazard, who kind of he hasn't done a whole lot over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Mike, he's been kind of quieted. He came in with a real big flurry and was doing great things for Chelsea, but that has seemed to kind of slow down. I'll say, and to be fair, Liverpool has played to a lot of draws over the last couple of weeks, so I'll say a 2-2 draw.
2-2. Well, that Chelsea defence is leaking. Is quite porous at the moment.
7 goals for United in the last week.
But United have got Van Persie, Chicharito, and Rooney as their forward line.
True.
Liverpool have Luis Suarez, who is great, and then they have a 17-year-old Raheem Sterling, and then they have, anyone who turns up at the moment at Anfield.
Well, Shakhtar scored 2 goals against Chelsea tonight, so.
But I'd argue that Shakhtar have got a better team than Liverpool at the moment.
Well, they've still 2 goals.
Still 2, yeah, but look who can see. Look, it's who scores them though. They haven't got a 17-year-old who's like leading the line, whereas Liverpool have at the moment. And as great as Sterling has been this season, we can't rely on what a kid to basically bail us out of trouble when Suarez isn't scoring the goals. This is the reason why I think that Gerrard needs to be played further forward, because he can't actually finish. He can't actually score the goals for Liverpool. And I think he's wasted being in the deep position he is at the moment. With Liverpool, I think would be far better off if they played John Joe Shelvey and Nuri Sahin as the deep line playmakers at the moment if Lucas is unavailable. I mean, look, I don't. This is what this baffled me about Rodgers at the weekend, is that Shelvey came on, he threw him forward. Shelvey had a great chance to win the game, and he bottled it. He couldn't put the ball in the back of the net.
Mm-hmm.
You put Steven Gerrard there, and that goes in the back of the net every time. Now, I think John Joe Shelvey is actually a wonderful player. I think he's going to be a great hit at Anfield. I like his strength. I like his technique, and I like his footballing brain. And I think he's learning from the players around him. And I think he's adapted much better than Jordan Henderson ever has. But Rodgers is playing these players out of position. I just think if he gets it right, if he just puts those players in those natural positions, it involves a bit of slight tweaking. That I think this team can actually properly it can light up the league, and all of a sudden, Liverpool can go on a bit of a run and look more worthy of challenging for those Champions League places. And I think there's nowhere better than to do it at Chelsea.
Well, that music, you know what that means, Mike. It's stoppage time here on Red versus Red. Before we get into some of the scores and stuff like that, I'm going to give a prediction. This weekend, United travel to Birmingham to play Aston Villa, who will get relegated. My prediction will come true. I'm telling you, they're going to win 4-0 at Villa. That's my prediction for this week. Stoppage time.
Well, you say Villa are going down, but they won at the weekend. Beat former Villa manager Martin O'Neill's Sunderland team 1-0.
They're going down. They're going down. I'm just saying, whatever. One thing I want to talk about, which is big news over here as far as the Premier League goes, Mike. Normally the games are on Fox Soccer Channel and ESPN. Well, starting next year, we have a brand new TV deal here in the United States. NBC, the National Broadcasting Corporation, acquires the English Premier League's TV rights, a 3-year deal, $250 million starting in the 2013 season, Mike. I know that doesn't mean anything for you over there, but here, that is a huge deal. We're going to get 6 games per week. It's a brand new NBC Sports network that they're trying to build and build a brand over here. It's a good move for soccer fans in the United States.
I'm just quite interested, actually. The NBC, do you have to pay for it?
Nope. Well, the NBC Sports Network is an extra channel that you have to have digital cable for. Now, if they're going to broadcast games on the actual NBC channel on, say, Sunday mornings, then no, that's free and that's network television.
Why? Because over here you got to pay for it. You got to pay for all the live Premier League games, and it's somewhat it is quite expensive to do so. But if all the subscribers are willing to pay the fee, the fees as it is, that's what keeps the Premier League generated, and that's what makes it the best league in the world. But what, $250 million? You say?
250, 3 years.
That is incredible.
It's a lot of money.
That's all going to go into hopefully Liverpool's transfer kitty in end of the season. So fingers crossed, that money will be winging its way to us sooner rather than later.
Well, you better hope, as I say, Aston Villa better hope they don't get relegated, because they're going to want some of that $250 million.
They reckon it costs a club £50 million if they go down. £50 million if they go down to the Premier League. That's why it gets desperate on the final day. That is why it gets desperate.
Yeah. We got about 50 seconds, Mikey. Anything else?
Just again reiterate. Looks like Mancini's going to be off from City at the end of the season. Jack Wilshere's back for Arsenal, which is great news for England at the moment. He seems to be getting through the games quite well. Again, Everton spooned up the chance of challenging for Champions League spaces with a 2-2 draw away at Fulham. And at the moment, the bottom 3 is Villa, Southampton and Reading, and I think that is the bottom 3 for the end of the season.
Ah, yes. You heard it here first, folks. That's going to wrap it up for episode 13 of Red vs. Red. Red vs. Red is an SPNT production. For more information, log on to spnt.tv. For my co-host Mike Smith, I'm Nick Superling. We'll see you next time on Red vs. Red.